Hello, my friends. Brandon with Steprock Media. Hope you're having a great day. I have a quick answer to a simple question. Why the heck are there so many shortcuts in Blender, especially on Blender YouTube tutorials? It's like so overwhelming. Do you need to know all that? What's going on there? Well, let me see if I can explain this to you. Blender is a really complicated program with a zillion different workspaces and menus. There's a ton going on. And a button that you might want might not be as simple as just close to hand, there's a button for it. It might be buried down through a menu. You can get to everything that a person ever says to you, like Control-Shift-A, Alt-Z, XYZ, PDQ, all that stuff, you can get to it by clicking through a menu, but it might be down through a menu, so it's not a quick click. The next thing is that it's a lot better to know a few key shortcuts and keep your mouse right there on your work instead of having to let go of your work and go somewhere else. If you've worked on Blender for very long, you start to get the feeling like you're actually working on a physical thing. You can imagine like, you're sculpting something and then you have to let go and go grab a tool. Sculpt, let go, go grab another tool. That would be frustrating. So it's a lot easier just to keep your hand on your work and just click. Use that keyboard as an extension of your toolbox, and you don't have to let go of what you're doing. The next reason is that it saves on repetition. If you're using a few of the concepts, like for example, a G to grab, a R to rotate it, a tab in and out of edit mode, that kind of thing over and over and over again, you're going to be clicking and clicking and clicking. And with those repetitive tasks, it's so much easier just to know a few key shortcuts. Next up, as you start to add more to it, your repertoire of shortcuts that you have mastered is going to become really, really large. What that means is that if you get to be an experienced person at Blender and you're the kind of person who would be able to teach a YouTube video, you're going to know so many shortcuts. It's not even funny. And it's a weird thing. When you get really good at a program, it is very hard to slow down and put yourself back into first gear and try to teach it to somebody who's newer at the program. So if you're, it's this weird dichotomy, isn't it? If you're good enough to teach the program, you're so good that it's hard to teach the program to a beginner. You're like, I don't even remember this. I had that experience with Photoshop trying to explain it. I was like, just Control-A, Control-J, M, B. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I've completely forgotten at this point what it's like to start out. And I've also forgotten where the buttons are. I literally don't remember where all the buttons are because I haven't clicked them in so long. So when you get to that teacher level, it gets kind of weird. You've changed as a software user. The last reason that you might find so many shortcuts going on is that it's possible that you have stumbled into a more advanced tutorial, not a beginner tutorial. And if you're coming into an advanced tutorial, you do not want that person to slow down into beginner mode. That would be really, really frustrating for those more immediate and advanced students. And that would just annoy everybody. So if you are in a beginner tutorial and they're still going shortcut crazy, I would go back to my previous answer. They've probably forgotten where the buttons are and they've forgotten how to slow down. It would be nice of them to kind of slow down and show you where things are. I usually try to do that in tutorials that I do. I'll say, okay, here's the button for something, and if you hover your mouse over it, you can see the shortcut, and from here on out, we're going to use the shortcut. So I do tell you, but it is a lot easier for you to know a few shortcuts and speed up your work really, really fast. And then as you get used to those handful of shortcuts that you use all the time, to start to build up and add to that repertoire. So by the time you're finished with the whole thing, you too will become a very experienced person and will forget where all the menus are. But it's okay no matter where you are with software like Blender, which is so great to get into. You don't have to know all the shortcuts. There are buttons and there are menus for it, but it really will slow you down if you don't learn at least a few shortcuts. You don't have to know all of them, and it can be overwhelming because people will kind of info dump sometimes, and they mean well, but it's a little overwhelming. So try not to judge Blender too harshly and think that it's just impossible to get into. Your teacher might be a bit ahead of you. The lesson might be a bit ahead of you, but you can catch up, and you can also start wherever you are and at whatever level you're comfortable with. Hey, I hope that this video helped you. And if you're comfortable with it, boom, you know what to do. Hit that like button, and I appreciate it. And I like to read your comments. So thanks a lot, everybody. Bye.